Contrary to what overwhelmingly vast majority of my internet presence would lead you to believe, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Unfortunately, I have committed the grave sin of being mildly optimistic, and suffered greatly for it, as neither substantial tweaks nor dropping 2 whole bloody divisions down from when I started this season allowed me to squeeze past the meta on something born out of recent patch. Despite all my suffering and repeated attempts at improving newest warrior builds, they all still face the same crushing issue all warrior off-meta builds do. They almost auto-lose to Mace Condi Berserker, and lose almost as hard to every iteration of Spellbreaker, which basically means you can't play a single bloody one of them if there's a warrior on enemy team. As if I had to bet both my buttocks that enemy war plays one of these two every time I see one, I'd retain ability to sit comfortably for the rest of my days. Or at least until both of these builds get properly addressed by company with worst track record imaginable in terms of addressing warriors' internal issues. However, you may say, what if I avoid enemy warrior instead of fighting him? That way, I don't auto-lose the 1v1. Well then, I hope you have Humiliation Kink, because that's the only way you'd be able to enjoy the following match. And that's because as a class whose sole purpose for majority of its existence was holding whichever side now needs to be held, it was cemented in community's general consensus that warrior is the side noder, which unfortunately means side is your responsibility in eyes of 4 other masochists in your team, and you'll bear the brunt of the blame for abandoning it, even if that's the only thing you can possibly do. And this problem of not being able to do anything in warrior vs warrior matchup isn't an imaginary one either, as warriors meta builds are expected to be able to survive in outnumbered scenarios and still be able to kill any adversary in a 1v1. In some cases, warrior can even take 2v1s and win, attempting which is sometimes his only option, as believe you me, no mace build will ever escape anything faster than Internet Explorer. Now, because of insane durability that's expected from a certified brick to survive a +1 from a spec that opens with one-shot combo out of stealth, in controlled environment that is a 1v1, 2 meta specs have significant difficulty killing each other, and with little bit of kiting, I have beautiful footage of how 2 most egregious and fun to fight builds brawl for almost 4 minutes, unable to kill each other until one of top 20 thieves on the server puts an end to this bonanza. And to be clear, neither of these builds lacks damage. I don't have to convince anyone that Spellbreaker can 100-0 somebody off of 1cc and that Akim's Skullgrinder Condi Berserker is a violation of Geneva Convention. And no, you can't escape this issue to lower rank lobbies, as both Mace Condi Berserker and every Spellbreaker build worth a damn are not only easier to play than Elden Ring at home, but also are old enough for casual audience to pick up the memo, so even Silvers pull out this crap on occasion. It is tough to say, but Warrior's internal balance is currently the largest factor limiting his build diversity in PvP. In World v World, the issue isn't as prominent as you aren't locked in a cage for 15 minutes with whoever matchmaking decides to curse you with, so I'll check in a minute if any of these is worth something over there. But for now, we still talk about PvP. Running into a warrior 1v1 on an inferior build is a very unforgiving scenario, as his skill expression boils down to spacing, fundamental game knowledge, and punishing mistakes. However, a build that's the same bloody thing except objectively better can force mistakes, or creates a situation where using certain skills is a mistake no matter what. For example, in Mace Condi Berserker vs Sword Condi Berserker scenario, Sword is by default at a huge disadvantage, as Sword Primal Burst Flaming Flurry fires projectiles, and Mace skills 2, Counter Blow, is a short cooldown block which with Shield Master reflects projectiles. In this situation, Sword Condi Berserker pretty much cannot use his own Primal Burst unless he knows all channeled blocks his opponent has are on cooldown, and even if they are, Flaming Flurry and Skullgrinder trading into each other heavily favors the Mace user, due to interrupt possibly cutting short Flaming Flurry's animation and its damage output with it. And this isn't even an example of an atrociously bad matchup, as Sword Kondizeka is at least a strong durable build that can still burst off CC and keep his opponent decently at range, turning potential loss into stalemate. In summary, it can stay alive. Few builds can say the same. What I say might tickle many of you the wrong way, but I'm convinced both Condition Berserker and Spellbreaker in general should be target nerfed in near future to make room for more blanket buffs to Warrior's entire kit. As I said almost a year ago, May's main hand shouldn't stay in the game the way it is, as it promotes slow, stationary, boring and brain-dead bunker playstyle, while being one of the most aggravating to play against crimes against humanity, specifically when paired with Akim Relic on Berserker. When it comes to Spellbreaker on the other hand, I'm absolutely convinced that skill which negates an attack, evades, boon strips, dazes, synergizes with all CC traits, all burst traits, and all on boon rip traits, resets cooldown of your weapon burst, works the dinner, cooks the dog, does your taxes, and beats Elden Ring simultaneously shouldn't have 12 seconds of cooldown and certainly shouldn't have it reducible to 10 bloody seconds with discipline. 15 seconds is the most generous cooldown I can possibly give this bloody button, considering that cooldown of riposte is also 15 seconds and that has no CC, no boon strip on it, and not to mention only thing it can reset is Longbow Ranger's brain back to neutral if you have Shieldmaster equipped. With Mace either reworked or at least nerfed out of relevance, and counter finally having something adjacent to appropriate cooldown, we would land in a spot where Warrior meta specs aren't standing in the way of potential fixes and improvements, which are currently being withheld not to overbuff aforementioned builds. In summary, Warrior's build diversity remains at the unavailable due to current problem stage. It has always been. Only the problem changed. I won't give up trying though. With reworked reward structure, simply chasing the bug, or in this case several, is worth the cock and ball torture the meta serves me on a silver platter. And as they say, it must first become worse for it to get better. Nonetheless, heed my apology for the disappointment my unhealthy optimism caused until I figure out how to salvage something out of this bonanza. Crapface out.